We're going to be getting started soon. Okay. If you guys have somebody that y'all can hear me. Okay. If you all have somebody that you wanted to attend, now is the time for you guys to send them a text message and have them to come on in to join us for this amazing town hall meeting. Okay. All right. You want to? All right. Pastor Trey. Hello. How are you? We're a family. The family conversation. Okay, so we're getting ready to get started. My name is Cynthia Robinson. We would love for you all, because this is a family oriented event and this is a town hall meeting. We want you all, if you're in the back, if you guys can please move closer to the front. We don't want you to miss out on any of this information. So if you can just shift up to the front, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to introduce Pastor Trey. Is Henry E. Green the third is going to open us up in prayer. All right. So you guys join us in prayer.
Amen. Everybody, thank you so much for being here today, and we welcome you to Mount Hermon. Let us go to God in prayer. Father God, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for allowing our hearts, our communities to come together to discuss these topics, which affects so many different levels. God, we thank you for the heart of leadership and for our Congresswoman who we pray for, who stands in the gap for us, who is in Washington representing our needs and our concerns. So as we come here in love, and we come here expressing that we expect you to be in the midst of this conversation today. This is our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'm going to ask everyone, as we have the Congresswoman here, well, let's stand and greet our Congresswoman, and in the only acceptable way possible, we praise God for her presence here today.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. We're glad that you guys are here with us. You going to sit down? I get a privilege to sit down by the Congresswoman. How about that? Okay, I am Christine Jones. For those of you who don't know me, we're Mount Bethel Social Justice Team. Pastor Curtis C. Ballard is our minister. He met with us on 9/22 for discussion. The discussion that we had with him, allowing us to move forward to getting the information that you guys received as you walked into the room today. This is really important for you guys to make sure you read this information, because this is going to let you know what's happening in the United States of America right now. That's the main thing that we're looking at. I believe that everyone knows that Mount Bethel had a fire in December 2023. It's been almost 2 years that we have been displaced. However, thank you, Bishop Jimmy Williams, for allowing us to use Lighthouse Worship Center. Pastor Trey Green, thank you for opening your sanctuary here at Mount Hermon to get this information out to the public. Also, I thank Cynthia Robinson. Where is Cynthia? And she's an officer here at Mount Hermon, for her assistance with this event. Handouts. We distributed documents for your perusal. Please take them with you and glance through them. They're very beneficial. You're going to be glad that you got them when you get to reading all this stuff. Voter registration information. We have in the room, in the adjoining room, we have Shariq Cobbs and Toshiba Gordon They're represented from Broward Supervisor of Elections. So if you guys need to make any changes, want to check to see whether or not your name has not been purged from the list, you can go over to the next room over and talk with them. Okay, I think I went a little bit too fast. Now what I'm going to do is, where's Nadej? I'm going to have Nadej introduce our Congresswoman, our 20th District Congresswoman, Sheila Sheffless McCormick.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadej LeBlanc. I serve as the District Chief of Staff for your Congresswoman, Sheila Sheffless McCormick. We will have a presentation for you that I will deliver, but before then, your Congresswoman, Sheila Sheffless McCormick, is now going to give you some opening remarks, and we thank you all for being here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I can't say enough how much I appreciate Pastor Trey for allowing us to use this church again. And thank you guys for being committed. There's a huge issue that we talked about, and I thank you, Christine, for leading this issue. It is about voter registration and how there's two numbers. And so I don't know if anybody from the Supervisor of Election could actually talk about it now before we start, so you can know what the issue is, just in case you need to clarify and make sure you don't have two of those numbers. Are they able to speak on it? Okay, so if you guys can come and speak on the issue, and if you guys can bring that information back into the community to let everybody know that this can and will impact their actual ability to vote in the next election. So thank you, ladies, for being here.
I'm sorry. We won't be before you long. Good afternoon. My name is Cherie Cobb. I'm one of the training coordinators at the Broward County Supervisor of Elections Office. Good afternoon. As we get ready for our upcoming election cycles, there's just some generic things that you should know. Some things are beyond Broward's control, but we have to lay it out and go with it, right? For example, with our vote by mail request, now you have to every election cycle, renew your vote by mail request. The way that sticks with me is every odd year, like 25, I need to renew it. So I'll be ready for 26, and I'll do the same for 27. With your vote by mail request, you want to make sure that your identifiers are correct. What are your identifiers? We need your driver's license number and the last four of your social. Now with the changes with our driver's license, it's safe when you're talking to your community, have them to do a voter's registration form where they give us the last four of their social. Because if we do not have the last four of your social, and if your driver's license number have changed, though you don't have an identifier on file for your vote by mail request. Make sense? Okay. So you want to make sure that you're calling us to make sure your information is updated. If you move, yes, you may notify the DMV, but just as an extra step, make sure that we have gotten that change, because you don't want to wait till you get to the polls to realize that your information is incorrect. Want to take?
I was listening so hard and to Cherie that I don't even remember what she may have left off. But first of all, I would like to take the time to say thank you to all of you who showed up today. And I'm going to take back to the elections office and to my community from this the importance of us getting the information about these type of social justice town halls being available to the community. And I think that it's important for each of us to take from this the responsibility of getting more of our younger people here. Make them the way that Mama used to say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We're in a time now where we have to serve our community, and we need to make, not ask our children to come out and represent what is so important and vital for our future, right? So I would like to say thank you all for taking the time out to come out to this. And I'm just grateful that I'm in the house today to be able to provide a service to you all. And as Cherie said, please make sure that when you are giving your information for voter registration that you, I know that back in the day, we were like, our parents told us, don't give nobody your social security information. But the last four of your social will not impact you in any way that will become a threat to you. But in terms of us being able to identify you for voting, and that it won't be a way of being suppressed, If your driver's license information is changed, anytime you make a name change, an address change, you lose your driver's license, your license number is now scrambled. So you don't get that same number like we used to get in the past. So that becomes a new identifier for you. So if we don't have the last four of your social, then you're kind of like unidentifiable, and that's going to cause a problem when it's time for you to register, check in to go ahead and be able to vote, right? So that's important. Also, I like to mention that every quarter at the Supervisor of Elections, we offer something called the NPC meeting, where we invite the community out to be able to hear about any changes that's taking place with elections that may impact your community or you personally. And we will have an NPC meeting at the Supervisor of Elections office this coming Thursday, the 30th at 4 p.m. And I would like to invite you all out to come. You will be able to ask questions personally to the Supervisor of Elections, Joe Scott. There will also be a panel where they will go over some of the harder questions and things that may concern us. So if you have the time and space available, come out and visit us. We're right off of Commercial and 21st Avenue, and that's at 4 p.m. on next Thursday, the 30th of October. Again, thank you and be blessed. We are a resilient community. We got this, right? Say it again.
Absolutely, neighborhood partnership committee. Yes, and that's where, like she said, we want to make sure that you are in the know. However, we will show up wherever you all ask us. Whenever you're having anything, give us a call. We'll be there. Now, we're going to provide the information and you provide the audience. Make sense? So please, if you're having your festivals, whatever it is, don't forget about us, because we need to make sure that these numbers go higher.
Right. Please, yes. There are 16 coordinators that Joe has divided Broward County up in. So he's given each of us a responsibility to a community. So whatever your community is, there's a coordinator that is going to come out and target that community. So any of the colleges, your churches, guys, if you have any sororities, Divine Nine.
Okay, let me,
I'm sorry.
excuse me. No. Hold up, guys. The supervisor election office is going to be right next door.
Oh, okay.
We need to move forward. So we need to keep going with this. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming over.
Thank you. Well, I can say things that they may not be able to say. So thank you so much. This is about voter suppression, and they are actually breaking the barriers for the voter suppression that's trying to happen right now. There's a lot of different steps that have happened to make it very difficult for our community to vote. And so what these women are doing, what Joe, our supervisor of election, is doing, is making sure that he has representatives everywhere so we can get over that hurdle they placed in front of us. So thank you so much for being here. And anywhere you guys are going, any events you guys have, please have the supervisor of elections there, because we're looking at over 500,000 people who might be suppressed. And so that's why they're saying any event you're having, they will come, they will make sure and check and see if your numbers have changed. You guys are aware of the real IDs that happened. So some people's numbers have changed because of the real ID, more likely than not. So we want to make sure that we're overcoming any barriers that might be in front of us. So that's what that is about. And you guys have a handout that will give you more information, and they can coordinate with you any events we're having so we can get over it. So thank you so much for being here and doing that. And we're going to get through this kind of quickly. It's kind of long, but it's very important. This moment right now is one of the biggest moments that we're going through in this entire decade. I might even say century, because you guys understand what's at risk. For you to be here on a Sunday afternoon, I know you know what's at risk. They are continuously targeting our communities, trying to devastate our communities and make it very difficult for us to vote and actually change things that are going on. We always start with a town hall presentation so we can let you guys know what's fact versus fiction, because we do have an administration that likes fictitious conversations and facts. And so we're going to start off with the facts so you know what's going on. I'm going to let Nadej start with the PowerPoint and I'll interject throughout, and then we'll do questions.
Good evening again. Just checking to see if the PowerPoint has been queued up on the screen above me.
So as they're queuing it up, I'll let you know the categories we're going to touch on. I think one of the first categories we're going to touch on will be the government shutdown and what's really at stake with the government shutdown. So the first thing I want to address with the government shutdown is we have over 7,500, let's say, they're going to give you the right number, of federal workers in our district. Now, our federal workers are our TSA agents who show up every single day for work, and they're not getting paid right now. Our federal workers are also my team members who are showing up for work who are not getting paid right now. We also have people working in Social Security offices, your Medicaid office. All of these individuals in our district are not getting paid. And for some of them, this is their second paycheck that they did not get paid. We're seeing more programs where we're actually seeing federal workers who are buying their own gift cards so their members and friends can actually come to work. Now, what my office has been doing, we've actually been partnering with different organizations to make sure that federal workers have access to things like food. So you can imagine, oh, it's up, so I'll just start talking. You can imagine what it is to go now a month without getting paid. And so many of our federal workers who we've been talking to, they tell us that they have to decide between gas and diapers. They have to decide whether they're going to eat or they're going to pay for their medication. And so this is where we're at because of this administration that is committed to firing and doing furloughs. Some of the programs that we're working with and the people we've been working with the Farm Share. We just did a program where federal workers, we gave them lunch and they came up to pick up food from Farm Share. The one thing that hurt me the hardest, I said, this is about dignity. These people show up every single day for work, committed to the mission, and now, because of this shutdown, they actually have to take a box of food home, even though they have earned their pay, and they can't get paid. When we have women asking us for personal items because they don't have the money, when you have people asking you for formula because they can't buy formula because they have not gotten paid this month, we have a real problem in America. And so we've partnered also with DoorDash. DoorDash has committed to giving over 300,000 meals to people where they will deliver it to their houses so they can save some form of dignity and not have to be on the food share, the farm share lines. And we're also talking to more companies for them to step in. The one thing that I've said, nobody's a fool here. We know what this administration is doing, and all the corporations that we support need to come in and support us in our time of need. And so we speak to them every single day, and I'm proud that DoorDash is stepping up, but I'm hoping to report that we have more people stepping up. We've also spoken to FP&L. FP&L will not be turning off anybody's electricity. FP&L also said they won't try to collect it if you don't have it. Just call them. We actually have a sheet when we go through, and it's going to tell you what all the companies are doing. If you are a federal worker, your children, or anybody, if you call them, this is what they're due to make sure that you can actually survive until the end. So we're going to start the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll go over that quickly.
Your Congresswoman Sheila Sherpolis McCormick presents a town hall. Government shutdown, impact on SNAP, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act. This is just an intro of your Congresswoman, which I'm going to skip over because she has already introduced herself. We're fighting back on 3 fronts: legislation, litigation, and locally. We have launched what we call our Fight Back Tour. We have already done over 120 stops. Our Fight Back Tour is hitting the community hard. We're committed to continuing visits to support and empower you. If you want us to show up in your area or you have an event that you want us to show up to, you can call our office at 954-733-2800, and together we can keep our community empowered. So you let us know what's going on and we'll show up in the community to give this information and resources to the community at large.
Now, I want to let you know why this is so important that you come to the town halls and you help us fight back. So this administration, they call it taco. Every time we push back, they back up, right? And so even some of the Republicans now are starting to back up. So every time you guys join us and you start texting or emailing, anything's going viral against them, they get very nervous and very upset. One of the things we've been doing as we're going around has been this shutdown. And so surprisingly, they called us back. So we're going back tomorrow to fight to see if they're open up and stop the shutdown. But now more Republicans are feeling heat. And so they said they're going to come too and demand Mike Johnson actually opens up the government. Now, let's see if the Trump administration feels the pressure and does it. I don't know. But at least we have Republicans who are bucking the system now, who are like, oh, we're going to come back. We need to open up the government. And we only got there because of y'all. You guys have been texting, tweeting, doing all kinds of stuff, and we just need more of that. Let them know you don't like it. Remember, reach out to your senators. We have 2 Republican senators who need to stand up and fight for us at this time. Reach out even to the administration. They represent us. They're watching. Actually, they're up there right there in West Palm and Mar-a-Lago. And every time they hear the news and they watch the news, they're seeing it and they're feeling it. So you guys actually have more power than other people located. So we want to raise our voice, continue to tell your stories, and push back on it until they actually do right by our community.
The government shut down. We're still fighting. We're still here, we're working, and we're fighting for the people. Our office is open. If you need help with any federal agencies through the government shutdown, we are still open and able to assist you with any federal agencies. Now, what's going on with immigration? Florida has the largest population of TPS holders in the U.S. Over 130,000 TPS holders work in essential sectors such as healthcare, construction, and food services. They contribute more than $2.3 billion in federal taxes and $1.3 billion in state and local taxes annually. 358,000 TPS holders live in Florida.
The reason I brought up the immigration issue is because a lot of our economy, actually the people who are working in our economy are immigrants. So when we talk about TPS and what we see going on with the negative impact, especially when it comes to our ports, I want to make sure everybody is aware it's because of this bad immigration policy. Now, I'm sure you guys seen that several cities have ICE actually taken them over and they're sending National Guards. We don't have anything to worry about as far as the state is Florida, because Florida is a Republican state. However, we've been working very closely with the sheriff to make sure they don't come into Broward. Broward is one of the biggest Democratic cities, counties that we have. We've heard about their eyes being on Broward County. As of right now, we don't have any fears of the National Guard, but we still have ICE agents who come in on the regular basis, but we haven't seen it as bad as other cities. I bring that up because a lot of people call me and ask me about our community and how we're facing. So we don't have those imminent threats. If we did, I would be back here to let you know we have these imminent threats. But I think the sheriff has been doing a great job and our electeds have been doing a great job backing them off of us.
The Republican shutdown. How did we get here? Republicans control both the House and the Senate, as well as the presidency. To keep the government open, the House and Senate are supposed to pass a total of 12 government funding bills. Each funding bill, a certain number of federal agencies. Unfortunately, the Republican-controlled Congress could not pass a single bill, leading to a shutdown. To avert a shutdown initially, Republicans put forward a short-term government funding bill, a continuing resolution or CR, to keep the government funded at last year's levels until November 21st, buying more time to reach a full year funding agreement. This partisan bill was put forward without any Democratic input. Despite the fact that a continuing resolution requires 60 votes in the Senate, that means any continuing resolution must be bipartisan, as Republicans only have 53 votes and need 7 Democratic votes to pass anything.
So I'm going to digest it for you because that was a lot. Long story short, they wanted to shut down the government. They knew they needed extra votes. They needed at least 60%. Trump had a plan. His plan was to actually have the shutdown. How do we know he wanted the shutdown? Because we were supposed to come back to Congress. They canceled those voting days. That was a big signal. Because if you cancel the voting days, we can't pass the CR. The Senate, they actually sent them home early. And the reason why they actually wanted this shutdown is because they had their plan, which was in Project 2025, to furlough and fire many government employees. But also a part of that was to make sure they defund several programs that they called woke or democratic programs. And we have been winning in the courthouse where we stopped them from firing, and they actually had to rehire some people. So that put a wrench in what they were trying to do, because now they still got too many people. We also put a wrench in them because we had a lawsuit which stopped them from defunding the government at certain points, and we won some of that money back. So their last course of action before the year ended was for them to have a shutdown. Why did they want the shutdown? Because during a shutdown, the president has discretionary spending power, which means he can spend and not spend where he wants to. What programs did he cut? Well, they said that woke programs were cancer research. If we look closely at the cancer research, it was really looking at ways to figure out how cancer impacts different groups, such as minorities. Traditionally, when they did cancer research, nobody looked like us who they were looking at. We weren't included in the trials. So they cut that funding. I don't know since when cancer research was a woke topic. Alzheimer's research, they cut that funding also. Even diabetes research, that funding has been cut. This has been used as an excuse to cut so they can fund their billionaire tax program. That's what this is really about. And so when they had their plan to shut down the government, we told them, look, if you want to reopen, we will only reopen if you actually give us back the ACA tax credits. The ACA tax credits are the credits that allow you to have the Affordable Care Plan. The Affordable Care Plan is one of the most popular insurance plans. And how's that going to affect most people? I'll give you an example. Without the tax credit, a two-family home that makes, let's say, $80,000, and they probably pay $250 to $500. So between that, now, depending on how many kids they have, now they'll be forced to pay anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a month for their insurance, which make it inaccessible. That means most people who are in ACA will not be able to afford their insurance. Now, what's so undignified and what's upsetting about that is, if you remember, the Affordable Care Act, they changed it and called it Obamacare because they thought it wasn't going to be anything anybody wanted. But when they realized that their constituents are mostly on Obamacare, they started calling it ACA. All of a sudden, it's the Affordable Care Act, and that's what they were calling it, right? Because it became popular. So now they didn't want to cancel the program. So they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cancel the subsidies, which make it unaffordable, which now people are going to say, we're upset because we can't afford it, and no one would be looking. But we caught them there. We said, no, because what you're going to do is take millions of people off. In this district, we're looking at over 200,000 people being kicked off their insurance. 250,000 of people right now who have insurance. That means you can't have your diabetes medication. That means you won't have the money or the coverage for even heart disease, high cholesterol. The medication you take every single moment or you take every single day, visiting your doctors, no longer available. And I always say we have to look at the compound effects. Why now? Why did we take this stand? We had to take this stand now because I was here probably a few months ago and I was telling you about Medicaid and how they were cutting Medicaid and all of our babies and all of our pregnant women who now will not have coverage. And everybody pushed back and we fought back. And so they thought they were slick and they said, okay, we're going to implement these cuts after the 2026 election. Why? Because you guys fought back. So I can't tell you how important it is. You keep pushing back on them, right? And so now we're here where we had to take this stand to make sure we don't lose the Affordable Health Care Act. And everybody asks me everywhere we go, what is the Democratic strategy? Like, what is our strategy? I have to tell you the truth. The strategy is delay, delay, delay until 2026. So even though they thought they were slick by delaying until 2026, we're like, okay, we're going to make sure that everybody can vote. Hence, we have the supervisor election here. We're going to make sure that everybody turns out to vote and they make their voices heard. So our goal is to delay all these cuts and all these hurts until 2026. And that's why I need you to know and push back so we can delay it. So where are we with the ACA? As I mentioned earlier, for some of you guys, I hear some of the Republicans are coming back. They want to end the shutdown. Well, they know what to do. Give us those credits back so we can preserve people on the ACA. Okay, Nadesh, you can. I don't want to keep. Sometimes this is dense, so I don't want to go too far, but you can go ahead and read this.
What's in the Republican continuing resolution? The Republican continuing resolution does nothing to lower health care costs for the American people. The Republican government funding bill fails to expand the Affordable Care Act tax credits that keep health insurance premiums affordable for working families. Without action, these credits will expire at the end of the year, and at least 4 million Americans will lose their health insurance. In Florida's 20th Congressional District, over 25% of our community members rely on the Affordable Care Act tax credits to afford health insurance. If these expire, insurance premiums would skyrocket by an average of 116%. If Republicans let the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire, 203,000 people in Florida's 20th district are at risk of losing their coverage. What loss of coverage could look like for an average working couple in Florida's 20th Congressional District? A 60-year-old couple earning $82,000 a year would see their premiums increase from $581 to $2,136. What's in the Republican continuing resolution? The Republican continuing resolution does nothing to hold the administration accountable for illegally withholding congressionally appropriated funding for critical lifeline programs earlier this year. The Trump administration unlawfully terminated $770 million in National Institutes of Health grants for Alzheimer's disease, women's health, cancer, and diabetes. They froze $250 million for school-based mental health grants and canceled $500 million for emergency food assistance program.
So as you can see, cumulative effects. This is going to devastate us. This is why you being here is so important. We are actually fighting for the most vulnerable and everybody in our community. I wanted to move past this one because we talked about some of the solutions that we're looking at to fight back. So we can go to the next one. And here are some of the things that we actually introduced to increase some of our job security. You can read that. We also have these handouts here. And so I want to make sure we have time to answer questions if anybody has. You can go to the next one. So the federal workers, we talked about that, about what's going on with them. I want to tell you some of the reason why they're trying to fire federal workers. Parts of the reason why they're attacking our federal workers is because they want to make it hard for you to get and access your benefits. What does that look like? I always give everybody this example. So one of the things they did was close down some of the Social Security offices. In my district, they closed 10. Now, my district goes from Broward County to Palm Beach. Within that, 10 of those offices are closed. And so they also introduced a clawback bill. What is a clawback bill? If they believe that they actually, they overpaid you, let's say by $500, they can come in and take it out of your immediate check all at once. Usually they would have to take out 10%, like incrementally, so you wouldn't suffer harm. Now they can take everything out at once. So I can give you an example that I always tell everybody, because this is what my office gets. So let's say we have a lady named Mary. Mary gets $600 a month. Now, the federal government is saying they overpaid her by $500. She gets her check, and it says it's only $100. And it says, well, we overpaid you $500, so for this month, you only have $100. Mary's like, well, this isn't true. I didn't see anything. I want to dispute this. Mary goes down because she knows where the Social Security office is. Guess what? It's closed. Then she says, okay, well, I'm going to have to go back home and call. Now she's calling, and she's on hold. Over and over again. 3 days later, still on hold, someone's going to call her back. Finally, somebody calls her back. Now her $100 is gone, haven't paid any bills, can barely eat. There's no food assistance program anymore because they cut it. There's no family members they can call to say, hey, could you help me with my money? Because, everybody's suffering now with their own money. And so by the time she gets in contact with someone, they say, oh, well, I think we could have made a mistake, but I want you to write in and tell me your complaints. What has happened already to Mary's money? The federal government has kept her money, and they're going to use it to give tax breaks. How long is it going to take Mary to see her money again? God knows when, because this administration has fired everybody. So who's going to actually process it? But at the end of the day, the quarter ends and they have their money. Now, how many marrieds do we have living in our districts? How much money have they already kept? So they can say, well, we have this balance now that we could do tax breaks. That is the goal, to stop you from actually using your benefits. What about our veterans? Our veterans who go and try to get approval for some of their health care and they keep getting denied. Who do you call? Well, surprisingly, they fired 1/3 of the people working for the VA to answer your phone calls and to process it. So now you are left with even long lag times that you had before. But what about your Medicaid and your Medicare benefits? They fired 1/3 there too. So who are you calling to talk about, I was supposed to have this, I didn't get it, I didn't get my pre-approval? That is the goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to frustrate us so we can't get our benefits.
I could pass this because the Congresswoman already explained the impact of the mass layoffs. Your Congresswoman has sent letters to demand financial relief for federal workers. On October 22nd, she sent letters to the CEOs of United Wholesale Mortgage and Florida Power and Light and Tico's People Emergence Energy, demanding they suspend collections of payments from federal workers during the government shutdown. No one missing a paycheck should have their power turned off or their house foreclosed on because of partisan politics. This week, your Congresswoman delivered food.
So this is everything we mentioned, what we've been doing this week. What I want to talk about, are we going to talk about SNAP? Do you know if we have SNAP on here? So I want to talk about, while we're doing this, because I feel like we talked a lot about this already. Okay, so I'll talk about SNAP because I didn't see it. So this week we already have been doing a lot of programs for our federal workers. Now, if we're not able to reopen the government by November 1st, then we're going to see SNAP benefits delayed, right? Delay of SNAP benefit, that means food stamps. Most families won't actually have access. In our district, we're looking at over 30,000 families who will not have food stamps if we cannot open the federal government by November 1st. Which is a huge, huge issue for so many people who are afraid to say they're hungry. For so many people who are afraid to say, I need my food stamps for my babies. Especially right now, we know Broward County School Board is not giving that money for our kids either. And so facing this, we have been working with different organizations and groups trying to prepare. So hopefully we can reopen the school, reopen the shutdown before the 1st. If not, we're going to give you more information on if you do get food stamps on how you can get help. We'll give you information on, hopefully we'll get more commitments from not just DoorDash, but from other groups that can give and fill in that hole. So I'm doing everything to mitigate all the harms that are pending in our community. So I think later on we'll follow up with more information about SNAP. In your packet, though, I know you have a handout. It talks about some cuts to SNAP. On the back page, it talks about the supplemental. It's in the PowerPoint? Okay, so we'll keep going.
Because of the Republican shutdown, 7,200 federal workers are at risk of being furloughed, fired, or forced to work without pay within Florida's 20th congressional district. For financial assistance during the shutdown, check with your bank to see if you can receive an interest-free loan during government shutdowns. Many banks offer no-interest loans to assist their customers. If you are furloughed, you are eligible for unemployment benefits. You could visit floridajobs.org to apply or receive more information. How does the shutdown impact SNAP? Despite being an entitlement program, a program required by law to provide benefits to all eligible individuals, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program relies on the passage of annual appropriations to remain funded. Therefore, while October benefits were obligated in September fiscal year 2025 funds, November SNAP benefits are at risk due to the shutdown. On October 10th, the U.S. Department of Agriculture sent a memo that states, indicating that there was insufficient funding for all benefits in November and directing them to hold off on issuing November benefits until further notice. There is $5 billion available for SNAP Contingency Fund in the event of a shutdown, but this is insufficient to cover a full month's worth of SNAP benefits. The administration has statutory authority to transfer funding from other government accounts to cover SNAP benefits for November. It is unclear whether the administration will choose to do this. How does the shutdown impact Medicaid and Medicare benefits? Medicare and Medicaid benefits are mandatory spending and are not subject to annual appropriations process. If you are a Medicare or Medicaid enrollee, you will continue to receive coverage. However, you may experience longer wait times or difficulty reaching agencies for assistance, as many federal workers have been furloughed. Verifying eligibility for new applicants, updating records, or getting proof of benefits may be stalled or delayed. While providers can submit claims, there may be temporary hold on releasing payments until the shutdown is over, which can create cash flow issues for some providers. We have now entered our question and answer portion.
So before we go into that, I want to talk about something that's not here, that's still developing. It is redistricting. And I don't know if you guys are realizing, but we will be redistricted in the state of Florida. I can give you a background of what's been going on. Long story short, the president called each state and said, I need some seats so he can have the majority in the House and the Senate. And there are certain states that are trying to deliver for him. Texas is one of them, which already is in play. Missouri is another one that we know they're redistricting. And Florida, you know, our governor can't be overshadowed, so he is also doing that. What we're seeing right now is they're trying to deliver the most amount of seats. How does that affect District 20? Well, in District 20, we've always been protected through Black access seats. And our Black access seat is now being challenged. What are they relying on? As of October 15th, the Supreme Court is hearing a voting rights case in which they're actually looking to repeal Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 is what protects our Black access seats. Section 2 ensures that our votes cannot be intentionally diluted because of race. And so they understand if they can get that repealed, then they can now dilute our votes here in District 20 and make our votes whitewash, just like they try to do our history, and even try to make it more Republican leaning to give them a shot. And what they have done to try to get this done before the state actually draws their map is they expedited it. So this case was supposed to be heard later. They moved it up to October 15th. They also are expediting the day when the decision is delivered. They're hoping that it could be delivered before January, but at the end of November, so they can actually know how they can redraw these seats. The impact of that and the implication, as we're sitting here in Mount Hermon, and we know how Mount Hermon has been one of the churches that was pivotal in us even getting any kind of real voting rights, us being able to even be at the beaches, segregation. And for us to be here again, talking about them trying to remove our voices, it seemed very eerily reminiscent of what we've already gone through. And it makes it even more important for us to understand how this attack is being leveraged and who they're targeting. I mean, everything that I read here, it should be very clear about who they're targeting, and it's us. It should be very clear that they don't want us to participate in this system because they want to rig the system against us. And so as we're looking and we're watching at what's going on when it comes to redistricting, it is going to be our state senators and our state House members. You guys have fabulous ones. Senator Osgood, I work with her all the time. Senate Representative Darrell Campbell, they will be dealing with redistricting. And so they already know that we're fighting to protect our voices here, but supporting them in that, raising your voices and letting them know that we need to have representation, that our voices have the same amount of weight as any other voice, especially white voices. I think that's imperative, and we're fighting that fight also. Now we can turn it over. I think we covered everything. There's a lot of things going on, but I want to hear from you, your questions on what we can do. And the one thing I want to always tell everybody is that we are called to be the salt of this earth. We are called to actually be the light of this earth and to keep our hope. and we know that we fight by faith. And every time we fight, we've been winning. And this is my third church today. And every time I go into the church, I ask everyone to come out and fight with us, because you guys have the faith and hope we have to get people to move and not to give up. And a lot of people feel defeated right now. A lot of people feel like this economic standing can't go on for long because they can't make it. So thank you for being here, but go out and continue to fight with us and let us know and let them know that we're fighting for them. So I'm going to give you the microphone so we can get some questions.
All right, now it's the time for question and answering. If anybody, please go to the mic if you have any questions. I do have one while someone is coming up. What can we do as members of this organization, as members of the, I'm going to say Broward County, Black voters? I think we have 283,000 Black voters, registered voters in Broward County. That says a lot. What do we need to do in order to make this thing go away? How many people do we need to email or whatever we need to do to take care of that? Because I'm ready to get started right now.
Well, I think that the first thing we can do is tell our story. One of the things, we had a town hall and we had a press conference in DC. And when we had that press conference, people were so surprised to hear that we still have a segregation wall, where we remember segregation and we know exactly what it felt like to be segregated and to be undermined. And I was so surprised when they were like, what? That still exists? Like, you still have a wall? I said, yes, we do. We have the memory there so we can never go back. And so telling our stories about how we did meet at Mount Hermon, telling our stories that it was in this lifetime that this was going on. Because unfortunately, if you look around, a lot of the young people aren't here because they feel like it's never going to happen. They don't understand that this just happened. All these rights and liberties you think you have that can never be taken away, this happened during our lifetime. They have no clue. They're too busy online thinking that, I love animals, but I have to even tell my kids, you out there fighting for this dog, but you ain't going to come out and fight for your people. You want to fight for this cat, but what do you think is going to happen to you? But that's what they're thinking. They don't believe this is real because they're not paying attention. So we need to engage more. Call your kids. Let them know the reality of this, right? The reality is that you won't have a voice, that you literally will go and cast your vote if you can, if they don't reject it the day of. And you're going to be thinking, well, I'm voting on behalf of my community and this is what we want. And then you're going to have a Republican who's representing you, who is going to be speaking for you saying, no, we don't believe in Black history. No, we don't believe that we should have equality. And you're going to say, wait a minute, what happened here? This is not me. I'm not represented. So our children and the younger people, and some of them aren't even children. Like, I even tell people, where are the 40 and under? You guys have been working for a while now. Like, why am I not seeing more of us represented? So that's one thing we can do. Another thing that I think is going to be the real game changer is what they're doing at the supervisor of elections. There's a trap set for us that we won't be able to vote. And everybody needs to be aware of that trap. We have a mic right here.
The mic.
You don't want to.
Person that I have been going to all of these events.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Herbert Waters, and I live here in Broward County, and I just want to know, when are we going to get serious about this thing? Because look at this place. This place should have been overflowing with people. We have to get serious. I'm a person in the community. I go to every event. I go to Lauderhill, I go to Lauderdale Lakes and stuff. We need to see y'all out there, boots on the ground. That music said boots on the ground. We need to get on the ground and take this stuff as serious. I work for the state of Florida. I have clients that need service. They are trying to take my clients away and they are mentally ill. I have to fight every day for them. I have clients that Medicaid. Y'all thinking this Medicaid stuff is serious. It is serious. They are going to take it away. But we, as Black people, we have to get serious. We go into our communities. We have to go in the white communities. We have to go in every community. When we out there fighting, we are fighting for everybody. We're just not fighting for one race. We say we are Americans. Let's be Americans. We have opportunities to take this, whatever, this man, this purple, pink dinosaur, whatever they want to call him, and stuff like that. This man, Project 25, a lot of people hadn't read it. I read Project 25, the whole thing. You see this face? You will be, if you read that, what he's telling you is not everything. Read it for yourself, because if you read it, this place will be overcrowded. Because that Project 25, that is a detriment to Black folks. It is detrimental. It is serious. And one thing, I went to the driver's license place. They changed my whole number. They changed my whole number. So when they tell you to go do something, you have to do it. Don't wait to the end. Yep, just like my friend, she went there. They purged her number out of the books. Yes. And when you go to the driver's license place and they ask you, do you want us to give you this? They don't. I had to go down there myself. And when I went down there, every number on my old driver's license was changed. And I had to sit there and fill out everything. So what they are saying to you, please take it to heed. And the next time we have a meeting, you're going to see me there. I want everybody there. Get your children, get your grandmama, get everybody. Bring your dogs or whatever, your cat. This stuff is serious.
Thank you. You know, one thing I wanted to mention, since we're having a family conversation in church, I had a meeting the other day, and I was explaining to them that everything can't be on Black people's shoulders. We are tired. We got to carry everything. I had someone tell me, well, y'all need to be out there protesting and marching like Martin Luther King. And I said, wait a minute, we? Because the truth is, you know, we warned everybody. We told everybody what was going on. And so now I'm like, we need to start doing more town halls, and it just can't be my people coming. We have to actually have the larger conversation, right? Another group said to me, well, there was always one day, like, you know, during civil rights, Black people and Jewish people were very close. What happened to that? And I said, well, you know, we can do some self-introspection. And the truth is that the Black community has been under attack for how many years that we've been fighting by ourselves. When they started removing Black history from our schools, when they started removing our books, you know, I reached out to people to fight with us, but we were here like this, fighting for ourselves. And so now when everybody's getting attacked, where are y'all with us? And so we have to start putting pressure. And I've been putting pressure on them to show up too, right? This is not just our fight for America. We have been fighting a lot. And so the next time we do these town halls, I hope to have them here with us too, so we can talk about what we're doing as a community. Because the truth be told, we all live in this community together. And before, they used to talk about Voting Rights Act. When we tried to pass it in Congress, some Democratic members didn't want to pass it because they felt like it was a Black issue. You know, voting rights, that's not our issue. Well, surprise, surprise. Everybody has an issue now with voting rights, don't they? Now, I told them, I said, I have 5 Republican members in California who are crying about voting rights because they're about to get redistricted. Right? 5 of them. And we have some more of them in other states, in New York too. They're like, oh no, voting rights, we need voting rights, right? So before, you were letting it happen to us because it was just us. But now that it's happening to you, you want a shoulder to cry on. So we do have momentum, but we all got to lean on them. That includes our employers, our businesses. I want to see you guys in here at our town halls too, because we service you. When we talk about Project 2025, if you read it and you really understand what they're after the Black middle class. Let's not make any mistakes about that. All these cuts that they've been doing, they called everybody who was of color, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and said we didn't deserve those jobs. They knew that was going to devastate our community. They knew before we knew that there was going to be more than 300,000 Black women who were going to be let go in the United States. 300,000 within months. What do you think that's going to do to our communities, our housing markets? They were aware about this. This is about devastating the Black community economically. One of the first things they did also was cut all of the fellowships and the scholarships to our Black youth going into working in the departments, government agencies. So let's not get this twisted. This is about our economic standing in the future of the Black community, where they feel like we have taken something from them. Now they're going to say, oh, it's immigrants, immigrants. If that's the case, then why did you go so hard after women and minorities? Why are you attacking us? So we all need to be clear about what this is really about and call the other people to stand with us. Where do we spend our money? We spend our money in all these stores. We spend it with Target, even though we were going ahead and we were boycotting them. We need to do more of that. If we're spending our money at Publix, you need to be standing with us too. And that's just the truth of it. Now I'm limited on what I can ask for, especially because I'm here in my official capacity, but y'all can read between the lines of what we need to do at this moment.
I have a question about, I think one of the ways that we can stop 47 and his administration is by taking back the Congress and the Senate in the
2026.
Yes. I'm concerned about the integrity of the election cycle, though. Are you concerned that they may be rigging it? Because I don't think he won the last one. I just didn't see him campaigning. I saw him playing golf and just have a good time, like he already knew it was in the bag. And I'm also concerned about the 90 million people who did not vote, which is where we are now, why we are where we are now. And just one more thing, Stephen A. Smith criticized Jasmine Crockett. He thought that she should have been working more with Trump. Do you have any belief in that theory?
You asked me a lot of questions. So the first one, Jasmine's my girl. We're close. And the truth is, we're all on a team, right? And on this team and in this war, everybody plays a part. And Jasmine's doing exactly what she needs to be doing, giving them hell. You know, you go ahead and you give them hell, and you send your negotiator in right behind you to negotiate, right? And we all have a part to play. Stephen A. Smith, I mean, either get in the war and fight with us or shut up. You know, just, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but get out of our way because we have a war to fight. So I can't spend time on someone who's on the sideline barking, right? Because that's all you're doing. You're on the sideline. If you're fighting with us, come in and fight and play your part. If you want to be a negotiator and go behind the scenes and negotiate, go ahead and do that. But right now, while we're at war and we have people on the front lines firing, let them fire until we go in and they had enough and we can negotiate. As far as election integrity, I do have major concerns. You know, one of the reasons we have them here is because there's a subtle voter suppression going on, trying to trick us so we don't know how to vote. I have other concerns when it comes to voting because now we're hearing the administration talking about they want to come in and watch the recent elections that are coming. You guys know there are other places that are having elections and they're sending election forces to supervise these elections. Since when? Why are you sending them now? What are you getting ready for? We already know you have concerns about getting all your seats. That's why you asked them to redistrict, and now you're sending people in. So I have huge concerns about that. I also have concerns about the use of social media. Right now, all the social media gurus and who own it, they all set the algorithms. What are we seeing? What are we digesting? Why is it that the most contentious stuff make it into your feeds? But the good things that you could be doing to fight back, you can't find it. You know, we look at our analytics on Instagram all the time, and it seems like we had great analytics, and all of a sudden we would get 1 or 2 likes. Everything just went downward. But if we do something salacious, something that would make the people kind of want to step back from politics, everybody sees it. We have a problem with that. We need to regulate it once we get the House and the Senate. We can't allow social media to be controlled by a political party. And so now they control what you're getting. And that does impact the integrity of our elections. We saw that already where we saw Russian interference with our elections. And how did they do it? Through social media. So I have huge concerns, and we're even laying down some legislation. But I keep saying this, we ain't nobody's fool. We know what we got to do. Right now, they're laying down some potholes, and we have to get over those potholes until we get control. And that's why we fight and we keep pushing back.
Good afternoon. one of the things we hear a lot in the Black community is my vote doesn't count, so I'm not going to vote. Voter apathy in the Black community has been a problem for years, and those of us who have been out here trying to mobilize voters, that's one of the things we're challenged with. So this kind of piggybacks on the question this brother asked here. My fear is that with all of the talk of voter integrity, election integrity, the government, federal government coming in, I think more and more people are going to say my vote doesn't count because of all of that stuff. So what advice would you give to those of us that are still out here fighting to get people to vote, to convince them that their vote still counts?
Well, I think the biggest advice I give all of us is to keep, what we're doing here, we're actually starting early. We're having the conversations early before anybody even thinks about elections. And as we're sitting here, we can actually mobilize. In this capacity, I can't participate in structuring how we mobilize and get the word out and let people know. But now that you guys know the playing field, when I'm not in this capacity, we can actually organize, right? One of the things too we've been doing, and I thank Mount Hermon for this and all the other churches that are here with us, is we have been reigniting and letting the church know what their role is here. The biggest changes that we saw actually have come through the church. And I think a lot of people in the church don't realize how you guys play such a big role. And one of the churches I went to today was an Episcopal church. And while we were at the Episcopal church, the Reverend was an older gentleman, and he just had so much veracity. And he was saying that the Episcopal church is supposed to be the resistance. I need y'all to start resisting. And I say that is because most of the churches we're going to, we know it, the pastors know it, the Reverend knows it. I'm just afraid the parishioners don't know it yet. Revolution comes through us. We have to get fired up, be in the community. We're having this conversation, is it a year? Before a year out. The next election is going to be in November. We are starting early. Most of you guys have been to more than 10 of my town halls already. And when I'm in DC, you guys are hitting the ground already. So now we just need to start mobilizing, start getting those small groups together and tell them how their vote works, right? And where the changes come. Unfortunately, especially in Florida, we feel like if we vote for the president, that should change. We got to explain to them how this really works, right? Start taking control of the places we control. We do control some parts of the Senate, right? State senators. We control the commission. We need to tell them where they can actually see change and how we grow that change, instead of giving them these flights of fantasy, especially right now. Everybody wants everything overnight. They think if they go vote on the first election, they're going to get the person they want, not understand the grand scheme of things. So we have to do that education. But what we need to be doing now is the step 2, which is we bring in more people. And if it means we have to throw a barbecue, a fish fry, if it means we have to get a celebrity to come in to talk to them about what it means and how we're going to do it, let's do it. One of the groups that I talked to was younger kids, and they asked me if I can bring in an influencer. I didn't know that that's what they want to have the conversation. Everybody wants an influencer. They even asked me for somebody called I Am Speed and Mr. Beast. I don't know who these people are, but if that's what you need for you to listen to me tell you on how to vote, then I need to go find them. And the truth is, one of you guys are probably I Am Speed's mama. I don't know, you guys probably could find them before I can. It's true, because they're telling me these people. And then when I talk to somebody, that's my grandson. And I'm like, well, could your grandson come in and talk to the people in the projects? Because that's who they want to listen to. So we need more ideas, like how do we draw them in? Who do we know? So we can teach them what they need to be ready for this revolution. And to be honest with you, I feel like I'm in the middle generation. I'm 47. And I always talk to the older people. I'm like, tell me how you did it. Tell me how you did it. I don't want to make the same pitfalls and the mistakes. Together with each generation being fused together, we can succeed and go further, instead of having this idea that we're going to make the same mistakes and always be behind them. And so coming together, having these meetings and figuring out how we can move forward is going to be it. And so another goal, and I'm happy that, I don't know if you guys know how all this came about. We were actually having a town hall, and during the town hall, Christy and some other women, it was the NAACP town hall we had in here. And everybody started talking about their issues, and one of them was the voting issue they had with the voter ID. And so then they were like, okay, let's pull more people together. So we're hoping after this, you guys will reach out and be like, hey, come, we're going to pull more people here and have this conversation. And then it'll be the cumulative effect, because after you've had 120, I mean, we must have touched how many more people? So next year around this time, we will be full if we stay diligent.
One of the things I would like to say is this, and the question was I think the young man in the back said, why should I vote? Or people say that, why should I vote? Because my vote doesn't count. Don't ever think that way. Your vote will not count if you do not vote. When you vote, that's your power. Your power is in your right hand. I'm a right-handed person. They wouldn't give me my rights to vote until I was 21 years old. That was in I want to say 1971. But anyway, nowadays people can vote, register to vote at 18. I've been voting all my entire life, and I vote down ballot. Y'all know what I am. I vote down ballot. We have to fight for what we believe in. If we're it. If we don't fight, it is not going to work. We have to fight. Vote, whether you think your vote don't count or not, it won't count. Like I said, if you don't vote, it will not count. So please vote. Michael.
Hi, Congresswoman. How you doing? It's good to see you. I want to make a statement and then I'm going to ask a question. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Hi. I'm going to make a statement and then I'm going to ask a question. I think in terms of voting and answering that question to young people, especially, you know, why should I vote? I feel like my vote doesn't count. But anyone who asks that question, I think we need to bring some reality to that. Like, I understand what you're saying, Christine, and I understand that that's a very emotional connection that the older generation has to our voting rights. But for younger people, that connection doesn't exist, right? And I think to speak to a larger conversation and kind of difficulty that I will say that the left has had in terms of mobilizing and turning out people, I think, is being honest in the contradictions in how our country works, how the government works, right? How our parties work. And I think if we bring a little more reality to that in our explanations, that we might get more people on board and let them know, like, your vote doesn't always count. Let's be honest. Like, talking, and I say that as a person who actually works in elections, has worked electoral campaigns. There are times where, like, yeah, an individual vote doesn't count. But let me tell you what the reality is, right? Is that when you are looking at a certain electorate size, right, in a certain election, and that there are suppression tactics in play and that there is propaganda in play, that's when we start to see the math start to look, you know, some kind of way. And that's when votes matter, right? It's in the plurality of us voting together that matters. So sometimes it's not any individual vote, but like the Congresswoman said, are you going to sit on the side or are you going to get in and fight with us? But then the other thing that we also have to confront is, are we actually fighting? How are we actually fighting? And are we saying that the vote is the only fight that we're having? Because I think that also feels a way to a lot of people, that there is a lot of focus on elections and electoral results, and people don't really see anything that happens in between them. So how are we actually engaging and living democracy in our everyday lives? Because it's one thing for us to say that this administration is an existential threat. We know that this country has always been an existential threat to us. We know that. But how? For most other people, they don't see the functions of government. They don't feel red lines, right? They don't feel the discrimination of a bank loan officer who's not going to give them the loans, right? And now we have an administration that's given political cover for that. But we're still not talking about it honestly as a society, right? How we're going to address that as a society, because we also have to be honest that a lot of us are individually invested in how some of these systems work. And we think that the systems are like this with the racism and stuff like that. And yeah, they kind of are, but also like we try to pretend like they're not. And because it benefits us sometimes, we're okay with that. So my question for you, Ms. Congresswoman, is how can we be more honest with these kinds of questions in our everyday lives? How do we incorporate more real democratic practices in our everyday lives, in our homes, our churches, our workplaces, our civil and political organizations, so that there is a real and deeper connection to our civics and what that means for our everyday lives?
Well, thank you for that. You asked a lot of things without asking. So I'm going to start off with, I agree with you when you talked about plurality, because one of the things that often happens in our community is divide and conquer, where we'll get people to go vote, but they know if they can divide us, then our votes mean nothing, right? So we do have to address that as a community. And another thing you asked about was fighting. How do we fight? Voting is one of the paramount ways to fight, but the other fight is just by speaking up. What happens when you speak up, especially right now, we shape the narrative. And speaking up for us is kind of one of our major ways, unless we change as a community. And what that means is when someone calls you or asks you for your number because they want to do a survey, that we actually give them our telephone number, which our community doesn't trust anybody. We don't want to give you our telephone number. And if we do give you our number, don't ask me no real questions about what I find to be important, because I'm not going to tell you. I don't trust who's on the other line and what you're going to do with it. So what ends up happening is the communities who are not disadvantaged, they're happy to answer the phone calls. They're happy to say, hey, this is what's important to us. And I get frustrated because when they give me these points they want us to talk about, I'm like, ain't nothing here what my community cares about. There's nothing that you are proposing that we actually care and we want to talk about. And they're like, well, this is what the survey results was. And then I have to find other information to show you, look, this is what the community cares about. We've even been asking people to speak out and do a QR code, like for you to record yourself, so I can show them this is what my community cares about, because we are not participating in those polls. And so I'm a realistic person. If I can't get you to participate in the polls, I can get you to start tweeting and texting and putting our voices out there. And they pay attention to that. So that's one big way, is to change the narrative. As of right now, there's still some people who think only thing that Black people care about is going to be social justice issues about the freedom to, voting rights when it comes to felons. There are actually people who think that that's the only thing Black people care about. And I'm like, let me tell you something. Black people care about the economy just as much as every other group. We care about our families just as much as every other group. But they have the stereotype of who we are and what we want to hear about. Even I could tell you, we have to be honest when we have these actual conversations. And if we're not honest with each other about what's important to us, no one's going to believe us and be honest. So when I have these town halls, I tell them the truth. I have frustrations within my own party. I do. I have disappointments within my own party. And until we vocalize and hold them accountable and be like, listen, I was disappointed about this vote, they kind of feel like they can go on and do whatever other groups tell them to do. And I could talk to you honestly about one, was the Charlie Kirk vote. That to me was huge. I was very hurt about that. There were several of us who even cried about, like, how could you do this to some of the members? But we had to do it because now they're listening about what actually matters to us and what is offensive and what's setting us back. So I think the more we have these conversations and we're honest, the more we have diversity of opinion, which I feel like a lot of times we're afraid to give the truth to everybody and tell them the truth. One of the things that I'm always fighting about is that we're losing Black men. We're losing Black men. We need to have more Black men speaking. You know, my father's a Black man. I'm married to a Black man. I have Black men who are children. But I'll be honest with you, I need a Black man's voice. I need him to speak to it. Just like you can't bring a Black woman to speak, another woman, or even a Black man to talk about me and what I go through. I need more Black men. Give them the microphone.
Lift them up. If you don't do that, you're going to keep losing black men. And as we lose black men, you know who's trying to pick them up? The ones who work against us. And so we need to have these conversations over and over again. We need to have young black men talking too, because I need my son to know he deserves a spot wherever he goes. And so I don't care where his education is, give him that microphone and let him tell you what he's been going through. And so that's what we have to keep pushing, every party, every place, and let them know the truth. Even when it comes to the diversity of background. Right now, the narrative, some people are even afraid to talk about immigration and immigrants. And I'm like, how could you be afraid to talk about immigration and immigrants when we all live with each other and we need each other? So I think the honesty needs to be back. And when we have these town halls, if we start being honest, I believe more people will come up. And one of the things I got pushed back when I started doing all these town halls, I'll tell you honestly, they were like, you know what? Every time a Democratic member comes in, I feel like you guys are whining. Oh, they did this today. They did that yesterday. They kept on pushing back. They're like, where is your project 2025? Where is your strategy? And I had to take that back. And I'm like, what is our strategy, guys? What are we doing? Well, I have one. Our project 2026. We're going to flip all these houses and all these seats. And when we get there and we flip everything, then we're going to be talking, right? Then you're going to want to negotiate because I'm going to hold you accountable. So even though they may not have it, District 20, we got one. And we need to make it happen for District 20.
Are there any more questions? Anybody have any more questions, any comments?
This is very frustrating. I've never been in a situation like this where we have a president who just does whatever he wants to do, and I don't know who can stop him. It just looks like nobody can stop him. He has immunity to do whatever he wants to do. And then the other day he told somebody about the ballroom he's building. He told her that he was the president so he can do what he want to do. And that looked like what he's doing. And then it's like, you know, he just does whatever he wants to do. So who can stop him? That's my question. I mean, we can have town hall meetings. I mean, we can try to get out the vote. We can do whatever, but it just seems like nobody is able to stop him. And that's where my frustration lies, because I look at the stuff and I just don't see how we're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, first thing I want to mention is we have been winning some small wins that have been stopping him. Remember, he went into the shutdown because of all the lawsuits that he actually lost. So we have been winning these lawsuits. The NAACP, SEIU, they have been filing them like nobody's business, and we've been winning some of them. Now, the other stuff he's doing as far as his spending, the spending power that he has, he's been able to, he raised that money for the ballroom. So we're working on how we do oversight there. But I'm going to be honest with you. As long as the Republicans are afraid of him, and they have the majority, all we can do is keep stalling until 2026. I mean, unless we start putting more pressure. If you notice, right, all of a sudden, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she got a whole bunch of pressure, she's turning her back, right? And this is why I keep saying, they all are doing that. Now they're quietly trying to sneak back up and show their people, oh, we're in DC trying to make sure we reopen the government. Why do you think they're changing their mind? It's because everybody's talking about it. And so we do have leverage, but we have to be consistent. It's just like when you're trying to break down a wall, it may seem like a small dent, but as we keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, we're seeing those wins come to light. They did not think that we were going to be able to stop them when it came to Medicaid. If you remember, they thought they were going to do all the executive orders, and all these executive orders were going to allow them to fire everybody, to gut everything. They thought this was going to be done in 2 months. And here we are, 10 months later, still fighting them. And so if we keep fighting, we will win. But remember, the strategy is delay, delay, delay until 2026. But if we delay and we can't make it happen in 2026, we'll be here until 2028. And we don't have that luxury because God knows if we'll be here in 2028.
Good afternoon, Congresswoman. I have a concern about what's happened to us internationally. Like he ended trade talks with Canada again, and he's blowing up ships in the Caribbean. And Pete is, I guess, he's doing it without congressional support or congressional approval. And I have problems with the way he's treating Colombia. And he's pulled his delegation out of America and everything. So I wanted to ask you, I know you've met with a couple of African country presidents, and I guess one of the countries in Africa, he asked him in a meeting at the White House how articulate he was. And that stuff like the entire African countries' presidents and everything. I wanted to ask you, because I know you're like our international girl here in Florida, but I wanted to ask you, what is your insight on how we are looked upon in South America and Africa and with some of our allies? So that was my question to you.
So I am on the Foreign Affairs Committee. On Foreign Affairs, I'm the top Democrat for the Middle East and Northern Africa, but I also do a lot of work throughout the Caribbean and also just throughout South America. That's a big, big question. How do we start? Right now, China has positioned itself to be the opposite of America. What does that mean? Every time we talk about tariffs and we've seen like we're not stable, China says, oh, we are stable. We're going to roll back tariffs. Come to China. Please come advertise. If you guys even remember when they first started talking about tariffs, China actually had campaigns where they're trying to get Americans now to come to China to buy directly from them, if you remember that. So China has been taking that perspective in trying to convince people that they actually are more worthy of international leadership than the United States. And China is one of our biggest adversaries. Russia has been doing something similar too. Every time we have a culture war in the United States, Russia goes to our African allies and tells them, well, we don't believe in discrimination, and colonization was the United States and Europe, and we never colonized anyone. And so Russia has been able to make footsteps and stronger relationships in African countries than the United States has for the first time. And so you're finding more countries who are supporting Russia and who are supporting China. Why is that a detriment to us? Because Russia and China's goal is to replace us, to actually destroy our economy and to destroy our country. They also spend a lot of money with Iran in terrorist activities, making our country more unstable. A lot of the terrorist attacks that you see in the United States that are from white supremacists, they are actually recruited online in different cells and organizations. And we can trace them back to Russian and Iranian. So you see this kind of instability affects us all every single day, and people don't really realize it. I feel like being on part of foreign affairs, half of my job is to travel the world and tell them that the president didn't mean what he said. We're still friends with you. We were just kidding. No, you have a friend in Congress. That's been most of our job, especially now dealing with the Caribbean. With these ships that we're seeing that are getting bombed, those are declarations of war. But with the country being shut down, Congress being shut down, my committee cannot meet to actually challenge that. You understand why they want the shutdown to last longer. Now we're on, I think, 11 ships or 10 ships have been bombed, and we cannot hold them accountable because we cannot have a committee hearing. In addition to that, we can't even find out how much money has been spent. We can't have a hearing on who actually was killed, what was the recognizance that they had to cause them to actually start bombing. But we also can't have committee hearings to find out where our troops are going and why. They've been moving a lot of our troops down into the Caribbean. We're seeing more warships down there, and we have no way of finding out why as long as there's a shutdown. So now you can understand why they want that shutdown. And you also understand why we're trying to pressure Republicans to get back to work, because we got a lot of questions. Within these last, are we on 31 days yet? In these last 31 days, we've seen so much activity that has gone unchecked because there's no congressional power. And so right now, where are we standing? I think the entire world knows where we are. And the entire world is as scared as many Republican members are. And so that's why you do see some countries who are negotiating and actually taking on these peace terms. That deal that was made in Israel with Gaza, that's an actual real deal that happened. Could that have been done a long time ago? Maybe, probably. But what we're seeing throughout the entire world hasn't been the same. The deal that happened when it came to the DRC, which is the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also Rwanda, we're still waiting to find out what were the terms. Who's going to benefit from the minerals? Is it going to be the United States, or is it a specific family? So there's a lot of these peace agreements that we want to look into that we're not able to right now. And so I have very big concerns about our standing. One thing that I'll say before I get to the next question, energy security and food security. Right now in the United States, we actually need energy security, and that's going to be throughout Africa. With more African countries who are actually becoming closer to China, it makes it harder for us to get those minerals, and it makes us more vulnerable. When it comes to even our food security, there was just a deal that was done with Argentina, where we're going to be buying beef from Argentina. So if we're buying beef from Argentina, what about our cattle ranchers here? And if Argentina decides to cut us off because one day they're getting a tariff, what happens to our food supply? Soybeans. The soybeans have been exported to another country. I can't remember what country we're going to be getting soybeans from. What if there's a tariff? What happens then? So we have a lot of security issues right now that we're trying to address. And I have real concerns when it comes on the international front. But the good story is 2026. We got a year, y'all. 2026. I mean, we can go on and on about what's terrible, but I need to talk about how we're going to make it happen for 2026. So I would love to hear from you also. I don't want to sit here and pretend like I have all the answers. I would love to hear from you more than anybody, because you've been doing this for so long, and you can actually tell us how we can accomplish it.
Congresswoman, we're so happy to have you here at Mount Hermon today. And we want to thank you for the fight that you have been fighting on our behalf. And I think we ought to give her a great big hand for that. One of the challenges I think that we face is that sometimes we got to reflect before we can move forward. One of the things that we push toward 2026, and that is what we need to push toward, but what many are afraid of is that when Democrats had the power, you did nothing with it. Okay? And so the fear is, because y'all play nice, and I love that y'all play nice, but anybody who's ever been on the playground with a bully, no, you can't beat a bully playing nice. When we put you all back in 2026, the Democrats got to take the gloves off, and you all got to stop playing so nice with this evil man. Now I got this collar around my neck. And you don't expect to hear the good Reverend talking like this. But I ain't always had a collar around my neck. And I faced a few bullies in my time. And you cannot fight the devil being nice. When we had the Justice Department, we should have put his behind in jail. He should have never had the opportunity to run again. He should not have been able to even be a candidate for president. He was convicted of 38, almost 40 felonies. And when the Democrats had the power, we pussyfooted around with that man and allowed him to get back in power. So now the nation and the people of color and the people who are hurting, the people who see what now has happened, they're saying, if you want us to get excited, we're going to get excited about it if we know that if we give the Congress back to you, that you're not going to play. That you're going to go in and know that you got to fight. And you got to fight not playing nice, but you're going to have to really fight the good fight. In the Bible, David cut off Goliath's head. Okay? You do not win a war with a bully, letting the bully survive to come back or fight another day. Amen? And so now, that's the first thing.
Take your time. Take your time.
That's the preacher giving you a 3-point sermon real
Go
quick.
ahead, take your time.
The second issue is to motivate our young people to understand and to rally and to get them to vote. The older people, we're going to vote because we know that's what we support. And this young man said it so eloquently that they don't identify with individual votes and differences and all of that. They don't understand that struggle. But we have to lift up their future and explain to them that their future is at stake so that they can understand. One, they'll never be able to buy a house with this administration. He's trying to take away education where they won't have opportunities to get good jobs. The code word he used was black jobs. Now, they don't understand that what he means by black jobs is he intends for y'all to go back out in them fields and pick cotton and pick fruit. They're running the immigrants away that doing what he called black jobs. And he intends for you to be out there cutting yards, picking fruit, out working in those fields and working in the hotels as janitors and maids. And that's as far as he wants you to go. And if you don't make those jobs, they build in penitentiaries for you to abide in. And that's the message and language that the Democrats are going to have to put forward to get young black men and young black people encouraged to vote. The issues and I'm not, believe me, I don't care who you love who you want to love. The Reverend ain't got no issues with that. But lifting up gay marriage and transgender issues, that ain't exciting men and exciting people who don't have jobs and worried about Medicare and worried about food stamps. Those are not the issues that's going to get us to the polls. Okay? And those are not the issues that are going to get church folk excited about going to the polls. Now, believe me, I ain't got one homophobic cell in my body. Okay? I don't have any issue with who anybody love, and I let God do the separating. I ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay? But that's not a national issue for Henry Green. The national issue for Henry Green is what that white man, James Carville, said. It's the economy, stupid. It's people not being able to get a job. It's people not being able to buy groceries. It's people who, with these tariffs, cars are going up $5,000. It's those kinds of issues that are becoming an issue for the community and puts all of us the same. Black, white, Hispanic, we're all on the same issues, and we can rally and unite around those issues. But up front, we want to deal with those issues, but we want to know y'all gonna put him in check when y'all get back in power. Now, if you all play with, guess what? That's what they did. When they ran to get the White House back, they said, we going back to put those Democrats in check. And that's what they have done. They're enemies, and you cannot play nice with your enemy.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. I just, since we're having a family conversation and you started it.
Yeah, he's
I would
inspired
add-
us.
He started it. And I saw Grace, you already got up because you already know. You are 100% right. And the first thing I need the Democratic Party to do is to recognize and commit to stripping down all the systemic racism within the party itself.
Thank you.
And I also need the Democratic Party to stop being afraid of the strength of Black men and Black women. And if they need fighters, that means you can't be scared of your fighters. That means that you need strong Black men to get up and fight, and you have to give them the microphone and give them the stage. That means you have to support our local Democratic Party and our Black leaders. That means when we finally get a Broward Democratic Party with a Black man as the chair, and when he has his cabinet, his committee members who are Black, that there aren't emails flying around talking about being ran like a Mickey Mouse house. That is our reality. And until we force them to recognize us and respect us, we're going to have this conversation all day. And it wasn't until I got in and I saw this that I said, you know what? If you have no allegiance to my people, I will have no allegiance to you.
Amen.
If you don't respect my people, I will not respect you. And everybody got an election. 2026 is coming. And I have told them, if I don't see respect coming to my people, best believe that when it comes endorsement time, I will have no allegiance to a party that doesn't respect us.
I just wanted to say, first of all, he's inspired me because I came to listen. I happen to love this Congresswoman. She has gotten there. She put gloves on. She's running all around DC. I'm in DC often. I actually serve. Is that your brother, Bishop Green? I serve in the national committee with your brother, Bishop Green. And one of the things I can tell you when I fly up to DC really quickly and make sure I am in the spaces and places so they can understand that this young man feels left out and left behind. And if we don't get their generation excited, right? And some of the things that you spoke about is not going to excite them. They were born with all their rights. They don't know what it's like to not be able to do all these things. They will if we do nothing. And that's the problem. One of the things, I don't have any questions for you because I know you're a fierce fighter on our behalf. But one of the things I want you to continue to do as you do these town halls all over in the district is make sure that folks understand that calls are coming from inside the house. And if we are not treated well inside the house, this is not about racism and black and white and all these type of things. But at the end of the day, if people don't feel valued, they will not work on your behalf. And that's one of the things that is so important for us. We have to be able to let people know we are here for them. We are working on their behalf. We're not here for our own volition, right? We need to make sure that folks understand that we're here, we're fighting for them, we care about them and the issues that concern them. And we have to be careful on what those issues are that we elevate and put front and center, because we need to make sure the important stuff gets the priority. Thank you for what you do for us.
Thank you for what you do.
Okay,
thank you guys for all your questions and your answers that we got from Congresswoman McCormick. So I'm gonna do one thing before we do the closing remarks, if you all don't mind. My social justice ministry is here. My team members, I would like for you all to stand, please. Mount Bethel Social Justice Ministry, and they got the rest of them out front. They passing our stuff at back. So we're here. We're so glad that we were able to come and present this meeting today at this church. Thank you, Pastor Green. Where did he go? For allowing. Okay, Daddy, thank you for having our back. Thank you so much for allowing us to come here. And my pastor, Pastor Curtis Ballard, he's not here, but he did bless us with what we're doing here today. And he will listen to us again, because we got to figure out a way how to get these younger folks involved with this. So that's a mission I'm giving to my social justice team, that we need to figure out how to work this thing out. And with that, Pastor Green, would you mind giving us a benediction and closing remarks? Thank you.
Would everyone please stand? Again, we were delighted to have the social justice ministry from Mount Bethel to lead this forum for us this afternoon. Let's give them a great big hand. And again, we want to thank Congresswoman McCormick for being with us. Come on, let's give her another great big hand. And now I want you to know I was talking about the other Democrats. I wasn't talking about her. Let the church say amen. I was talking about the other Democrat. I wasn't talking about her. All right. Now let us look to God now for the benediction. And now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and present us faultless before his presence with exceeding and great joy. To the only wise Father, we ask, O God, your blessings and your glory, both now and forever. Let the people of God say, amen. Amen. Y'all have a great rest of the week. Congresswoman, so good to see you. Thank you so much.
Tell him again.